Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into tonight's second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. Doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon and please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? Today's first encounter. To make a long story short, I'm a 22-year-old male and I've been through a lot more than I care to admit due to time constraints, but all that I've been through has made me a very rational, firm, and strong individual. However, I will disclose that I am a former San Francisco, California Treasure Island Job Corps student, and upon completion of the program and graduation, I had to live in a homeless shelter in Vallejo because I had originally moved from Virginia back in September of 2014. I was in foster care since the age of 12 years old, so I saw some crap and went through some crap that I didn't want to. And because of that, and who I am, it left me without a family or friends. So upon moving to California, I settled in with a guy that I'd been talking to for 6 months prior to my move. I had an abusive, one-sided thing with him until I grew a pair and cut his ass off since I was in the Job Corps, at the time residing there as a student resident in their dorms because some stupid stuff went down and I beat he who will not be named ass and he threw me out. Fast forwarding back to the homeless shelter in Vallejo, I managed to get a full-time job at Six Flags. Summer came into full swing, school let out, giving us more business. After saving up a considerable amount of money, a friend of mine from Job Corps offered to let me move into his parents' house with him in Sacramento until I could get on my own feet. As we started living together, I could say for the first time I knew what it was like to have a family. This guy, however, was someone I had a crush on, and when I told him, he simply responded that he already knew, that it was obvious, and he found it funny that I thought I was hiding it from him. He dubbed me with the nickname Generic Anime Girl, but he admitted that he wasn't sure if he liked me the same way back, only because he claimed to be bisexual, but that he was on the fence with it. He admitted feelings for me there, but he couldn't explain, and so eventually he offered to do the roommate thing with me once he graduated from Job Corps. 3 weeks of being at his place, he called me one night, freaking out while apologizing, which confused me, so he told me that he had been in the area all day and was at a river with his friends for the afternoon since it's unbearably sweltering, blistering hot here in Sacramento during the summer. He called to tell me that he had forgotten to invite me and felt like the worst friend in the world, and that was something I laughed at. I told him that he was busy and had a lot on his plate. I told him that it was no big deal and that all that mattered was that he had fun, although when he told me he had a girlfriend starting that day, I was disappointed. Depressed even, but I genuinely supported him and we are still best friends to this day. But I caught myself spiraling into episodes of anger when I stopped to think about it. It was like depression, but without any enthusiasm to be sad. All I could feel was anger, and sometimes I didn't feel like it was even me, and despite all the effort to feel otherwise, I was utterly exhausted for no apparent cause. I hadn't been staying up late or anything. I ate pretty decently, and I took care of myself while juggling my new part-time job at Pizza Hut. One day I received a package in the mail. Creepy stuff started happening afterward. Before I say anything else, I need to mention that with me being a highly energetic person compared to my friend's huge contrast of apathy and lethargy, 90% of the time he never took anything serious, especially from me, simply because he didn't care enough if it didn't catch his interest, or my hyperactiveness always made it seem like I overreacted to every little thing that made me excited, which was true for the most part. I am very hyper and annoying, like an ankle biter or some kind of puppy. Anyway, I had ordered the spiraling healing wolf bracelet from a charity program for wolf conservation reserves, where the money for the bracelet went to fund the conservation program for injured wolves. I was pretty stoked to finally have my bracelet after waiting 3 excruciating weeks. The description said the bracelet was crafted by Native Americans using recycled materials from nature, and they imbued with a protective veil of spiritual energy, like a dream catcher, but on your wrist. The first day of wearing the bracelet, I had to work that day, so I had to take it off during the duration of my shift. I have bipolar disorder and acute anxiety, mind you, but this day I was seemingly manic with no signs of my anxiety, like it was never there. Even when I was on phone duty, which I hated due to my incessant anxiety, but despite all of that, I was pretty peppy and cheerful that day with no sign of exhaustion, even though we were being rushed during dinner. All of our dishes were dirty, we had corporate renovating, and angry customers, but nothing really seemed to bother me. Later that night at around 9 o'clock, I clocked out for my night shift and put my wolf bracelet back on before I started walking home. The walk home is a 10-minute straightforward walk that requires you to cross the street and turn into a bend that merges into a suburban complex of private homes. All of the houses are close together and had either German Shepherds or Pit Bulls enclosed in a gated front yard that were either playful or aggressive. As I walked past them on my way home, they all charged me from opposite side of the fence like they wanted to kill me or something, and for some reason I felt threatened more than scared, like I was being challenged for dominance or territory, I kid you not. I turned around to meet one of the German Shepherds, and I literally, not metaphorically, but physically started growling like a wild animal through my bared teeth, and I roared at it in a pissed-off craze that made it yelp like a kicked puppy. I could literally only see yellow and red, and I went into a state of hysterical blindness that was fueled with a dry rage. I no longer felt like a human being anymore, but a monster. To make things even more eerie, it was the night of a full moon. I looked up and saw it. I was enveloped with a warm, deep state of calmness, which eventually turned me numb. Everything started coming through waves, and all of the noises and smells around me became surreally vivid, along with my vision, like I was high or something. I howled at the moon, and after that, I seemed to snap out of it. When I finally got home, I was exhausted, so I got myself comfortable and went straight to bed, but despite my exhaustion, I couldn't fall asleep. I was wide awake and fueled with anger. With every little tick and click in the house, I was overwhelmed with so much rage that my stomach started to hurt. Time had passed, and it was 3 in the morning, without any luck of falling asleep. Suddenly, my friend's dog, Allie, a 14-year-old lab mix that was old and generally friendly, but she came up to me with her hair stiff and teeth bared. She started growling at me like I was a threat to her or something. My only reaction was to glare at her. I cut my eyes to hers, and she fell silent and skidded for the screen door behind me. She knew how to open it by clawing at it. When she managed to open it, she hauled ass outside, her tail tucked between her legs like someone had just fired a gun off or something. Confused about the whole situation, I got up and dragged myself to the kitchen to get some water. When I made it to the corner of the kitchen, I heard rattling, crashing, scratching, and banging sounds from outside. All the dogs started growling and barking. I ran over to the window and pulled down the blinds, and I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. As I was about to walk to the fridge, I heard a very eerie howl that gave me goosebumps and made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I didn't know what it was, but I watched too many horror
movies to know that it was not anything friendly. All the dogs fell silent and the howling droned for about 3 more minutes until it faded into dead silence. That night I was not able to sleep. The second day of wearing the bracelet, and as I share this, I'm trying to suppress a fit of rage. My friend has 3 younger brothers, and his 2 youngest were quarreling over some stupid thing. With every bitch, whine, moan, groan, I am 1 step closer to screaming and yelling and cursing at them and slamming their head into the wall. Now the dog Allie is utterly terrified again. She attempted to growl, but instead she could only whine and whimper. She was staring at something in the bathroom that I couldn't see, but obviously she could. I got up and called her name. She ran away from me, terrified. I opened the back screen door and she hauled outside again, just like last night, but this time it was in broad daylight, and she huddled herself in her doghouse, shaking like a leaf. Seriously, what was her deal? Later that night I saw a gruesome image in a waking nightmare I had, or at least I wanted to believe it was just a nightmare. But it felt too real. It looked too real. It sounded too real. And it smelled real. I swear to God I had sleep paralysis episode or something, because what I saw was like something out of Jeepers Creepers or Stephen King. I couldn't get a picture of it, obviously, so I made a crude, rough drawing of what I remembered, but I digress. It was about 8 feet tall. It stood on the balls of its blood-covered, rake-like hind legs, claws protruding from its toes like daggers. It was covered in a shadow cloak thing that seemed to swallow any sight of light or life in spot of standing in. It had 1 bloody hook for a hand, and the other was a paw matted in blood, like its feet, with bloody dagger-like claws protruding. It seemed to have these anthropomorphic appendages, all 5 of them. It seemed to be wearing a hood with a crooked, jagged, razor-sharp, bloody grin of decaying fangs that stretched ear to ear, where 2 crimson spotlights rested in place of its eyes. They looked like portals to hell itself. It had a long, bushy, pointed, matted tail and pointed horn-like ears protruding from the hood. The inside of its hood was a mixture of green, blue, purple, and black, gunky smoke or mist, blocking any facial features that it might have. All I smelled was sulfur, rotting eggs, biological decomposition, and death in general, as it was looming right over me. It was teetering its bloody claw back and forth, as if it was teasing me, taking its time to torment me, as it relished in my sheer terror. No matter how badly I wanted to, I couldn't move. I closed my eyes and started to think about my friend, as he was the last face I would want to see before I died. After about a half a minute, I opened my eyes and it was gone, along with the smell. I was covered in sweat and noticed that my bracelet was still on. Maybe it's just me, but I think anger can manifest itself into unpleasant things. Maybe I'm looking too deep. Or maybe I just need to take this damn bracelet off. So, the reason why I shared that was because it reminded me of the things that are happening with Claudia Ackley and these demonic presence that appear to us as possible dogmen, possible Sasquatch, possible crawlers. I'm not saying that these are not real, because I do believe that dogmen, Bigfoot, and crawlers are real. I also am starting to think that these kind of inorganic beings or demons can manifest themselves into these things to torment us as well. So, let's get on to today's first video clip. Today's first video clip is a creature called the Lupinson, which is supposed to be some kind of dog-like demonic child, and it's pretty freaky. Check it out.
Ey, vengan a ver esto, boludo, ey. Vengan a ver, boludo, mira lo que es, ya. ¿Qué es lo que es eso, Mira, boludo, mira, boludo, se está preparado, boludo, mira, vení. Pasito. Mira, boludo, ¿qué es lo que es eso, El Luisón, ese es el Luisón. Ese es el Luisón. ¿Qué es lo que es eso, Mira, boludo, mira, se va a venir, aquí. Se paró. Aquí. Ey, vengan, traigan Coti. Vamos a traer Coti, vamos nomás acá, vamos. Vamos.
Definitely a creepy video. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, it's too. At first, I looked at the face and I was like, is that a bear? And then I looked at the body and I was like, no, it's not a bear. It's very strange. And, well, there are a lot of strange things in this world that we are unaware of. And they're just starting to come to the surface now. So, who knows? On to today's second encounter. This occurred in August of 2013 at my home in southern Colorado. It was around 1 in the morning. I'm sitting in my living room watching TV. My Rottweiler is lying next to me on the floor. My wife's asleep. All the lights are turned off. To someone outside, it would seem like all are asleep in the house. The TV is in front of a large window. The window has a curtain over it, except for one small corner at the bottom of the window, where the curtain is pulled back so that we can see people stepping onto the porch during the day while sitting on the couch. Again, the exposed portion of the window is very small, and for someone to look inside, they would have to bend down or be extremely short. Suddenly, my Rottweiler raises her head and pulls her ears back, showing her teeth, and begins to let out this low growl. She's staring directly at the exposed corner of the window. I mute the TV, and after a minute, her growling becomes snarls. She gets up on all fours and lowers her head and is staring at that corner. I grab my 9mm and duck under the TV, slowly making my way to the front door. I try to listen for any noises. All I can hear is my angry dog. After a couple of minutes of this, I flip the porch light on and look through the front door window. I don't see anything. Soon after, my dog chills and it seems to go back to normal. I go back to bed, but it is a sleepless night. Fast forward a few nights, my wife's in bed, my Rottie's asleep in the other room, and I'm pulling another late-nighter watching some mindless garbage on TV. I decide to go to bed. Before I go, I figure I'll do a quick patrol around ours and our in-laws' property. I grab my mag light, load the Glock, and make my way outside. The moon's bright, so I leave the porch light off. Once I step out onto the porch, I notice movement to the right of me, where my driveway and vehicles are located. I shine my light toward the movement, and I see a large creature next to my car. It's on 2 legs, with its arms on top of my car, with its back to me. It's brown, hairy, very slim and lean. Once the light hits it, it rushes off on 2 legs towards the road, hits the pavement, and runs into the woods. All of this without making a sound. I wasn't able to get a good look at it. My eyes had yet to fully adjust, and the whole ordeal only lasted 5 seconds. I never saw its head or face, but it was completely silent as it ran on the gravel, then on pavement, and then into the woods. I heard nothing. It's as if it was floating. Considered what happened just the night before, the whole situation made my hair stand on end, and I quickly made my way back inside. I still have no idea what that was. Today's second video clip is what I believe to be a Dogman. A couple kids hanging out, and the Dogman comes out of the woods towards the kids. Check it out.
Dude, oh my God. What is Jack doing? Jack.
No, like I'm dead. I was about to call the cops.
Yeah. Wait, what is that?
Today's third encounter. This incident took place in a small trailer at a campground. Not exactly wilderness, but still heavily wooded. I was 13 years old at the time. Being only 21 now, and having written this down not long after it happened, the memory is still fresh. It makes me uncomfortable to even think about it. This campground just had a strange feeling. It felt like it belonged in a dark holler in West Virginia or something, not in New England. It was run by a couple who were around at odd hours. There was a pool and a little general store within sight of the trailer. Down the lane, out of sight and just barely in hearing range, when they were loud, there was a larger trailer and tent sites. All of these were backed up to the edge of the fairly dense woods. Around us there were a few smaller trailers, but no one in any of them. It just had this odd, deserted feeling to it, but it wasn't uncomfortable at this point. One night my best friend and I are in the trailer, and my mom and her friend were on the picnic table 30 feet away. We had just watched Aladdin, and at some point during, I had gotten up to shut the light off in the far window over the kitchen table. This was a very small trailer, maybe 10 steps across and barely room to pass each other if you went sideways. The kitchen table was the second bed. We were in the living room bed, so I took 10 steps. The far window and table were kind of recessed. The bathroom and living room bed were up a step and narrower. My friend couldn't see the window from the bed. When I reached for the light, something growled outside of the window. It was deep, but not necessarily loud. But the depth to it sounded guttural and big and high, probably near the top of the window. I froze. It took a good 5 seconds before I could turn to my friend and see if they did. I got a genuine blank what stare. I bolted those 10 steps and literally collapsed onto the bed. My knees were too weak to jump. That wasn't the part that really bothers me, though. A few beats after I hit the bed, something slammed into the trailer near the top and hit it hard. The trailer's side/back where the window was and where it hit was against the woods. Trees touched it. Now, there was a step outside to get into the trailer and room enough for my 5'8" mom to stand up with some room. It hit the top edge of the trailer above the bed my friend and I were in. It was hard enough to reverberate through the bed. The trailer moved, literally. What freaks me out more is my mom and her friend, again 30 feet away, heard nothing but us yelling. They assumed it was us playing around. My friend didn't hear the growl, but we were on the beach last night and I brought it up, and they still remember the bang of the trailer. It wasn't on the roof. Nothing jumped onto us. It was the side near the top. The one concentrated spot, not like a body slam. This was western Massachusetts. Doubt it was a bear or a mountain lion. This was a good 8 feet above the ground, besides which I feel like either of those would have gone for the two vulnerable adults at the picnic table, or at least been noticed by them. The side it hit was the side nearest the table, and yeah, I've been given the Bigfoot suggestion. For me, the jury is out on that one, but I don't find it impossible. My problem with it is the same with the bear or mountain lion, why it took more interest in us than the adults out in the open. I'm still genuinely uncomfortable walking into a room with a window open at night. Today's third video clip is another kind of strange creature. You have to look, and I'll slow it down, but the creature, there's two little boys and their dad filming. Look at the little boy, the smallest one off in the distance. There's nothing behind him, and then you see it coming from behind this bush, and it's at least as tall as he is on all fours walking toward him, and it is stalking him. You can tell how it's moving. Check it out.
No van a patear los penales, dale, patea, ¿no? Casi, loco. Güey, Ñeri, espera. Hay algo allá, Ñeri. Hay algo, Ñeri. Oh, mira, mira, Guarda, Ñeri, hay algo, salí. Salí, Ñeri, salí, corre. corre, Jerry. Guarda.
To me, that's creepy. I mean, the kids are terrified, the guy's terrified. I don't know what it is. I don't even want to know. I'm just glad that the kid was okay. And dang. I mean, it's fast. It comes out of nowhere. It comes out of that bush by that fence. You can see it. It's pretty creepy. On to today's fourth encounter. So I saw something not quite human, although I wasn't alone. My high school friend saw it as well. We were driving to my house along a long dark road, high beams on, and as we turned onto the road and rolled along, I saw something crouched in the center of the road. I thought it was a very large kangaroo. I'm from Australia. I said to my friend, "Hey, look, it's Kanga," and then froze as we ground to a halt, engine softly purring. About 10 to 15 feet away from it, my friend looked up and I watched the color drain from her face, just like mine had already done. My hands were firm on the steering wheel. She kept repeating, "What is that? What is that?" The creature was hunched over on all fours, naked, pale skin, bald, thin, ribs are visible. It was at least 7 feet tall, a large mouth with really strange, unsettling teeth, like ape teeth, sharp and the faintest bit human. It just stared at us, perfectly framed in the headlights of my car. Its eyes were black and sunken into its head. The nose was just 2 holes. It was quite possibly the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. After about 2 to 5 minutes, I said, "Well, what? What do we do?" I inched the car to a forward roll. I'd figured I'd rather keep it in our sights than turn around with our backs to it, so we rolled forward and the creature walked on all fours to the side of the road, letting us by, but its face was fixed firmly on the car. Not just our car, but us inside of it. It just kind of let us go slightly around. We got sideways and it started moving quickly into the brush to the side of the road. The closest it came to us was maybe 2 to 3 feet. We raced home screaming, frantic. We burst into the door and told my parents what we had seen. They didn't believe us. They thought we were stoned, but we hadn't had a single puff off a joint, nor a drop of beer. They said it must have been a kangaroo that gotten clipped. It wasn't. I remember it was clear as day. Today I was watching a show about mysteries on Netflix, and it all came flashing back. I still have that friend on Snapchat, but we grew apart and haven't seen each other in about 8 to 9 years, but I messaged her about what we saw. I was hoping she'd say, no, that must have been a dream, but she didn't. She recounted everything I had seen. When she mentioned it was crouched in the middle of the road, I got a faint feeling of pins and needles and almost vomited. This sighting was in McLaren Vale, South Australia, 2012, at around 8:30, 9 p.m. I'll never forget it, and neither will my friend. Today's next video clip is what appears to be a Bigfoot running in the woods. Not really sure what it is. I'm sure it could be a Bigfoot, but I'm not sure. The video clip's old, so it's kind of hard to... I don't know. You guys just check it out.
There, look! Where? Behind that tree there, do you see it? There, look! Where? Moving! Where? Now, what was that?
I mean, it's kind of hard to is it real or is it not? It's just hard how the guys are talking, and it's just strange. Cool clip, but I don't know. Today's final encounter. I was probably 10 years old when this happened. I've never really talked about it much, but it's still clear as day in my head. I have no idea what it was that I saw. I was playing outside hide and seek at my elder sister's house with some relatives. I'm running through the backyard and taking the corridor that connects the back to the front yards. Mind you, it's almost pitch black outside aside for some streetlights and the moon. So I'm running down the corridor and I hear something on top of the roof. As I'm halfway down the corridor, all of a sudden I see two unknown creatures jump just about 5 feet away and above me onto the neighbor's adjoining wooden fence. Now, when I saw that, I didn't think much of it, but it did stop me in my tracks. The only thing I could think that it could have been was a pair of some type of monkeys, simply because of the shadowy outline I scarcely could see. But the freakiest part of it was the creature on the left had big oval eyes, almost the size of eggs, that were glowing a bright red. The creature on the right, however, had blue glowing eyes. And as they clung to the fence, they started staring at me. I was frozen for about 5 seconds upon seeing that, but after I had regained my senses, I ran with all of my might out of that corridor, having to run past and under them as I was freaking out. I don't remember much about what happened after that, how the conversations went as I told my siblings what I saw. But one thing is for sure, I was not asleep, and I was not hallucinating. I know it sounds kind of weird. And those pair of glowing eyes, they were definitely real. I have no idea to this day what it was.
All right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Some very compelling video evidence of something going on. Anyway, guys, with that, thank you very much for supporting the channel and the well wishes. Guys, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant while in the woods. Please keep an eye on your pets, your children, your loved ones, because there is something else watching them in those woods. God bless.